Welcome back to another video, guys. I'm going to discuss to you today this little bad boy in the corner. This is my gaming slash animating slash computer programming slash video editing slash PC that I've built with these bare hands. We're going to deep dive into the parts that I bought and why I decided to actually build my own PC, as well as some things that I've come across where I struggled whilst building it and buying parts, and where to buy the parts and so forth, and maybe some tips and tricks that will probably help you out in case you're thinking or deciding to build your own PC for any of those reasons that I've mentioned before. So how about we show you the finished product? Now, don't get me wrong, building a PC can cost you less than £1,000. But unfortunately, the type of person that I am is I don't just accept the mediocrity. I like to go above and beyond to infinity and beyond and get my parts, really good parts and very expensive parts, and build a beast. Oh, this is a beast. This is a real beast, I might say. I might add. Oh, ravishing. But, in all reality, jokes aside, it did cost me quite a bit to build this, and I'm gonna jump into that as well. Now, this video is currently being recorded and released at the end of 2020, which you can tell that is during the pandemic. And a lot of things have happened, and it sort of really changed my perspective in life. One thing I've noticed is that I haven't been animating as much as I used to back when I was in college and in university. And even though I was doing my courses, which I studied computer systems engineering, I had a huge passion for animating, designing, drawing, and so forth. Now, I really just wanted to get back into a certain aspect of my life where I was really happy. And that was when I just have the opportunity to just make animations and just create content. I think the idea of creating content is something that always resided within me, and it's just something that I've always loved doing, whether that be creating videos or animations or music or just drawing in general, creating artwork and illustrations. I love it. I feed off of it. I love it. But I just didn't have the time for it. And unfortunately, I was concentrating a lot on my career, trying to elevate myself in my career, make more money, and I guess I kind of lost sight of what was more important to me. And don't get me wrong, money is important, because how the hell are you going to eat and, have a roof over your head and pay your bills, man? Happiness don't always pay the bills. Happiness does not always pay the bills, I'm telling you. I mean, that'd be great if happiness can pay the bills, but unfortunately, happiness doesn't always pay the bills. So I would need a job. I mean, I wouldn't be able to buy the parts for this PC without having a suitable job in order for me to acquire the funds. Now, like I've said, I am a computer programmer by profession. That's my job. And I studied computer systems engineering in university, so it only made sense to go down that route. Why did I do it? Money, baby, come on, me! Because I like programming. I like programming. No, but in all honesty, I do love programming. But during this whole entire pandemic. Wow, what is going on with my English today? Now, during this pandemic, a lot of things came into realization for me. And one of them was being that the fact that I haven't been animating as much as I used to. Now, I do still do animations, but more so as freelancing, where people will pay me and I will create whatever they need me to create. But there's something within me which I realize that I love, and it's the fact that having control, whether that be creative or whatever. And I realized I didn't really have that control over my creativity. I didn't really have that control over programming. And so one thing I've realized is that I really hate programming for companies. And I think the reason that being is because I don't have the creativity to code what I want, you know, and I guess that's an obvious thing, because when you're in a company, you're creating software for company use and to elevate that company, which is great and all, but it's sort of a repetitive cycle where you continue doing the same thing over and over again, and it's kind of like, you know, you don't have that sense of fulfillment within your heart, and I feel like you can get so sucked in that 9-to-5 lifestyle of going to work in the morning, stopping by Costa or Starbucks, getting your coffee, going in from 9 till 5, sometimes 6 or 7 p.m, getting home late, you know, too tired to go to the gym, too tired to do any animations, and you just go to sleep and you wake up in the morning, you do it all over again. And then in the weekends, you're just doing your chores that you never got to do during the weekday. And it's a repetitive cycle of, which really sucks the life out of you. And I've realized this, that I don't want to spend the remainder of my 20s just doing things to make money. I mean, it's great. Money is great. Money, and if someone says that money can't buy happiness, money can buy happiness. Money can buy happiness. Listen, if I had money to buy a Rolls Royce right now, that would make me happy. I mean, happiness is temporary, so you can buy things with money to, you know, get happiness. Temporary. Whether money can buy joy, now that's another conversation, because joy is everlasting, so you can't necessarily spend money to have everlasting joy. But you can spend money to have happiness to a certain extent. Anyway, that is up for debate. I personally want to be happier. I want to spend my entire life being happier and enjoying myself. And I feel like continuing doing this only doing this 9-to-5 stuff isn't necessarily what is making me happy. In the long run, that is. I'm spending my life just working. And so I wanted to get back into my passion. I've loved animating stick figures, full body animations. I love watching anime, obviously. I love watching cartoons on Cartoon Network, for example. It really inspires me. It really gets me in my creative element, and I feel like I've lost that sense of me, but that little kid inside of me is telling me to get back into it. And so I don't want to wait till my late 30s when I've accomplished as much as I've tried to before I got back into it. I figured, why not try to do that now, because you only get one life, and I don't want to spend one life not being happy. It doesn't make any sense to me. Yes, money will always come and go, but life is short. Life is short. You gotta do what you love. You gotta chase what you love doing and find that fulfillment. And so that's what I'm doing. And so with that in mind, I decided to buy parts to build a PC. Now, I've always wanted a desktop. Originally, I have a laptop. Now, this is my current laptop. This is a Dell XPS 15. This is what I normally use to do my animations. Before that, I had a HP Pavilion, I think that's what it's called, which was amazing laptop. That was probably my best machine used for making animations. It was a 19-inch screen, which was flipping heavy. And it was great for making animations. I really loved it, but it broke down after many years. I had it when I started university, so I had it for donkey years. After that, I did buy this, the Dell XPS 15, which is a pretty decent laptop. I think the slight issue I had with it was it tends to overheat quite a lot, especially with the fact that you can see that there's only this amount of space for the fans to sort of get in air and, like, you know, filter it and try and reduce the heating. After heavy duty work, when I'm doing video editing, when I'm making my animations, it gets to a point where, you know, it's struggling to handle all of that. And this year I had planned to buy the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X. Both of them, I wanted both of them because I'm an Xbox guy, but PlayStation looking kind of good in the light, man. But as you can expect, they all sold out everywhere. So I thought to myself, I'm just gonna try and get it next year instead. So what am I gonna do till then? Maybe I might just start building my PC from scratch, potentially. And let's talk about some of the parts and the reasons why I bought them for my own personal usage. Now, for CPU, I've decided to go with AMD's Ryzen 9 3900X. And the reason I decided to go with that is because it's a great all-round CPU. It only came out last year. a lot of people use it. And I didn't want to transition from Intel to AMD. I've been using Intel my entire life and I figured I'd decide to go for a change. Now, Intel, however, is great for single core usage, so it would be more applicable towards me for the sake of software such as the Adobe softwares in which I tend to use. However, as I'm going to transition a little bit into PC gaming and I'm going to see what it's like, I figured AMD would be a good shout for that reason as well. So I did want a great all-round CPU, so I went with that. Now, I was sort of dilly-dallying around with the fact of trying to go for the Ryzen 9 3900XT. However, it was more expensive, and in terms of heat produced, it tends to produce a bit more heat than the 3900X that I have, based on a lot of the benchmarks I've seen. But this is just a small thing really, because obviously the 3900XT is more powerful, it is the newer version. But I saw a great deal. Like, I was trying to buy these stuff during the Christmas period. So during Boxing Day, for example, and Black Friday, they were doing deals, and the 3900X was going for £150 off. It makes sense. But cheaper doesn't always mean good, because sometimes you make bad decisions when you're trying to buy cheaper, like I've made here. Now, when I say that you can make some bad decisions from trying to go cheaper, this is what I mean. This, my friends, is the NZXT Kraken Z73. Now, why is this a problem? Two reasons. One, this only supports two 140mm fans. And my PC needs three 120mm fans. Now, this wouldn't have been an issue if it supported two 120mm fans, but it supports two 140mm fans, meaning that my fans don't fit. So I've wasted money from buying this, fitting it in, thinking everything is going fine, and unfortunately it didn't. And in a bit of trying to save money, I ended up wasting money. So with that in mind, I ended up buying the correct one that I need, which is the Kraken NZXT Z73. Now, there is the Kraken X73. That is the older version, but that is still an amazing version. The only difference between that, which is the ancestor, and its predecessor, which is the NZXT Kraken Z73, is this screen over here. I have the options of using this LCD screen to see the temperature of certain components, or the actual temperature within your box for your PC. And I think this is a very good addition to it. It's something which I thought would be great in terms of visual aspects, as well as the fact that I would like to just see the temperature of my PC just there and then. Now, it does come with these fans. And I decided to take these fans off and replace them with the Antec Prizm 120mm fans, because I wanted the RGBs. As you can see over there, it looks really pretty in pink. Pink isn't the ideal color I'm going for, by the way. It's just something I've left it on for now. I do intend to change it. One thing I was really happy about the NZXT Z73 is the fact that you can also upload a GIF into your LCD screen. So as you can see, I decided to put a cute little Pikachu. Oh, it's so cute. Oh, it's gonna make me cry, man. I got a small little Pikachu here on a couple of balloons and just floating away. And this is just nice, because sometimes you just tend to have a bit of procrastination and you just start to zone out. So it's nice to see like images like that, or GIFs like that, just idly standing by whilst your mind wanders. So when it came to storage, I went with the Samsung SSD. I went with the fastest one I could find with a reasonable price, and 2 TB, because I'm definitely going to be using a lot of storage. I do have an external SSD, but I do want to have the options of storing as much data within my PC as possible. One thing I've struggled with throughout the years is always running out of space, and I think that this is a great addition to actually handle all of that. I didn't want to use a hard drive because I wanted something really fast in terms of read and write speed, and this has an incredible read and write speed. So that's the reason why I went with this instead of your typical hard drive or just a low budget SSD card. Now, when it comes to the RAM, one thing I was looking for was a suitable latency speed. Now, when we're talking about RAM, you may see a label on RAMs that you're trying to look at, which may say something like C16, C14, or so forth. The C is short for CL, and the CL is short for CAS latency. An ideal good RAM would be something like C16, which is what I've got. It's nothing too expensive, nothing too cheap, and it's great. I think if you go anything above C16, it's not really ideal. You kind of want to stick to that as a maximum. So ideally, if you want something more faster, you want to have a CAS latency which is a bit lower, maybe something like 14, like C14. But obviously, the lower a number you go, the more expensive your RAM is going to cost. Now, how about we have a little conversation about the GPU? So when it comes to the GPU, I decided to go with NVIDIA's GeForce RTX 3070. This right here. This is basically gold. You can't find this on the shelves. You can't find this. You can't find the upgrade, which is the 3080. You can't find the 3090. You can't find it anywhere, man. You cannot find this. You wanna know why? Because all the damn scalpers decided to buy all the stock and sell them at a stupid price so that we normal people who just want to have a good time can't buy it and have to buy it at a premium price. Initially, I was trying to get the 3080, which is an optimal GPU, which I thought would be a great addition. This is the Founders Edition, by the way. This is the Founders Edition. I wanted to get the 3080 because I think that was a nice middle ground. Unfortunately, like I said, sold out everywhere. When the PlayStation and the Xbox came out, they sold out like that in minutes. When the new GPUs came out from NVIDIA, they sold out in minutes as well. And so you couldn't get them anywhere. I so happened managed to get my hands on the 3070. So I'm not too fussed. I'm not a hardcore PC gamer, as you can obviously tell, because I've only just built my PC for the first time. But the great thing about building your PC is you have the options of buying better parts afterwards and then upgrading your PC as you feel, to do so. So I can simply buy the 3080 at some point or the 3090 if I feel to do so at any point of time, and just stick it in and then, download the correct drivers and then install them. I'm just gonna quickly talk about the case. The Antec P120 crystal case. If I tell you what I went through to get this case, pressure on my scalp that I put on myself to try and get this case. The case was sold out in the UK. A lot of these parts which I'm talking about were sold out in the UK, here and there. I had to scour around the internet just to get a lot of these stuff, to the point where I'm thinking, am I gonna spend money on a place where I'm not too sure about? Listen, Trustpilot review website was my best friend, because I had to make sure that websites I was buying a lot of these parts from were legit. A lot of them weren't legit, which is why I never bought from them. So I tried going on eBay, eBay sold out. I tried going on Amazon, Amazon sold out. Scan.co.uk, they're sold out. Overclockers.co.uk, they're sold out. Some of them are saying it's discontinued, end of life. And I'm like, fam, where am I gonna get this case from? So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try to get shit from America. America's like, okay, the case original price is $89.99 in terms of pounds. We're gonna charge you 120. And on top of that, we're gonna charge you £80 for delivery, because we're shipping this from the United States to the United Kingdom. And on top of that, we are going to charge you import charges, which is gonna cost you another £120. So I'm gonna pay almost 300 or even more than £300, sorry, for this case that costs $89.99. In the end, I decided to look elsewhere, and then I saw on eBay that a man was selling about 12 of these in Australia for about £100, and you only pay £20 for shipping, which I thought was pretty reasonable. I thought it was pretty okay. And so I decided to make the purchase. The day after I made the purchase, I see the cases that were available on scan.co.uk for the original price, and obviously with cheaper delivery since it's in the UK. And so I've now had to rush to eBay to ask the guy, if he hasn't sent it yet, if he can cancel the purchase order and refund me my money. And thank goodness the guy was very humble enough to actually do that. And so I bought the case from scan.co.uk. It came in great condition. Thank God. Now there are a lot of good cases out there, but I really wanted this case for several reasons, because for one reason, The air intake and the air circulation within this case is wonderful. The air is just passing through very, very nicely in between all of the components, making sure that it stays nice and cool. I'm happy. Now I went with the Tomahawk Wi-Fi because I wanted to have a motherboard that potentially supports Wi-Fi usage in case that I don't have an Ethernet cable that's long enough to touch my computer, for example. For the power supply, I've gone with the 650 watts EVGA gold power supply. With some additional wiring, I have bought the link up PSU cable extensions. Now this is basically the extensions that connect my power supply to my motherboard. I've got some extensions which look much nicer than the stock ones you get. On top of that, I've got a 4-pack PWM fan splitter cable, which allows me to use more than the standard usage of fans. So when it comes to buying your components, it is a bit easier if you go for the same brand in terms of every single component that you buy. However, you may want to, branch out for different needs, whether that's be the visual needs or the performance needs. So in my case, I've ended up buying fans from Antec. I ended up buying my RAM from Corsair. My motherboard, the Tomahawk, is from MSI. So I've gone all over the place really with it. Now this is great because each and every single component fits my need, what I want to see visually and performance wise. However, when it comes to the RGB side of things, this is where I really started to struggle. Now I bought the 5-pack of the Antec RGB fans, and then I bought an additional 2 fans separately in order to have 7 in total. The 5-pack comes with a controller, and you need a controller if you want to connect multiple fans together and you want to be able to control it. Now I wanted to be able to control the LEDs. So as you can see, for example, changing the colors. I wanted to be able to change the colors with ease. So normally you can do this on the controller. If I undo the back of my PC, then I can go to the controller and I can click the button to change the colors. There are a lot of stored colors and variant types that you can see on there by clicking the button. But that's not really ideal. I don't want to really have to keep going to the back of my PC to do that. So the best thing I could do was to basically connect my reset button or reset switch straight to the controller. Initially, the reset switch was actually connected straight to the motherboard. So if I click the reset button, it resets the entire PC. So instead of that, I connected the reset switch straight to the controller so that when I press the button, it changes the color. The first software I downloaded was Corsair's IQ software, which allows me to change the color of the Corsair's RAM. Next, I downloaded the NZXT software in order to add my GIF to the LCD screen and, to filter or toggle between whatever I wanted to display on there. Lastly, I downloaded MSI's Dragon Mystic Light software, which allows me to change the color of the actual light that displays behind the motherboard. Now, what's the problem with all of this? Ideally, I would like to control all the LEDs for the entire machine on one software as opposed to having to go on various different softwares. Now, I guess this is one of the positives of having all your components from the same company, because the specific software you download would recognize every single component of that company. So for example, having the NZXT software, it seems to be able to detect the NZXT Z73 water cooler, which works fine, but it doesn't seem to detect the RAM, and it doesn't seem to detect my fans either, which is annoying, but yes. To rectify that, I tried to download Corsair's software, which seems to now only detect the RAM, which again doesn't really work for me. So figuring that everything is connected to the motherboard, I figured that I'll download Mystic Light from MSI, which is direct inclusion for my motherboard, and hoping that it would recognize every single component connected to it and be able to control the LEDs. Now, the positive side of that is it actually has been able to detect my RAM. So I can change my RAM's color using the Mystic Light software. Another positive is I can obviously change the LEDs of the actual motherboard itself, because that's the correct software for it. And another positive is that it actually detects my fans. Another problem I came across is that the Mystic Light software overrides the setting of the controller, which I guess is to be expected. However, there are a lot of cool settings on the controller. And the problem with the Mystic Lights when it comes to my Antec RGB fans is when it sets a color and you turn on your PC, it basically just flashes that color on and off. So what I did is I ended up uninstalling the Mystic Light Dragon software, and I'm just gonna control the RGB of the RAM using Corsair software, control the NZXT water coolers stuff during using the NZXT software as well. And then I'll just leave the reset switch to just basically change the colors of the fans to what I want. I think this works out as an easier way for me. It's less stress, and that's a good way to go about it. Don't rush with buying your parts, take your time. I bought my parts over the course of 3 months or 4 months. So I bought my parts bit by bit because they are really expensive. Now the last thing I would recommend is using a website that is applicable for you to actually pick your parts and make sure that they're actually compatible with each other. For example, you don't want to end up picking parts which are only specific for Intel PCs, such as your motherboard, and you end up buying parts which are specific for AMD. One way in order to know that you're choosing the correct parts and you know whether certain parts are compatible with each other, I would recommend using PCPartPicker.com. It was a great website for me to use because I was able to see many different brands, many different things that would actually work with what I'm trying to create. And then with that in mind, you would end up seeing whether your parts that you're trying to buy are compatible or not. It would also recommend the shops in your area. For example, me being in the UK, where I can actually get these parts, and it would show comparisons of all the websites that actually sell it as well. So thank you for tuning in to my video. I hope it's been very insightful. I hope you're able to digest the reasons as to why I decided to build this. I do hope to get back into my animations. Now I actually have already started animating. So, I mean, I'll aim to put out something soon. I have a lot of ideas in which I want to throw out there into the world. So let's just pray that I actually get it done. So please help support me by clicking the like button and the subscribe button, because my animations will be coming and you want to get your notification for that. And also that would help support me in a way, so it'd be greatly appreciated. So feel free to watch any more of my videos, and I will catch you guys. Hopefully the next video will be an actual animation. Who knows?